cette période parfois difficile pour les médias, c'est merveilleux d'être tous ici ensemble dans cette salle où l'on ressent la passion, le zèle et la rigueur journalistique.
We are under attack. Please help us hold the line. Thank you.
Hello there and welcome. I'm Rosemary Barton. Welcome back to our ongoing coverage of the Canadian Journalism Foundation Awards. And we are, of course, waiting for Rick Mercer to emerge. A bit late today. In fact, he's very, very late. Why he's so late, we're not really told. We'll try to get some more information for you. He could be on his Xbox. That's always a possibility. He could be doing a L'Oreal rinse in the kitchen sink, or maybe cutting his own hair. All we know is that we are here and we're waiting for him to show up, to break his isolation, and to get this show on the road. And if you're listening, Mr. Mercer, because you might be listening inside the house, know that a source has told me that Susan Delacourt has reportedly said that if you don't get out in front of the house in 5 seconds, she's going to put a flaming bag of, look, I see some movement, and here he is now, emerging from the front door of his home, Richard Cottage. It's Rick Mercer. Let's listen in live.
Hello, welcome. I will make some comments, I will keep it brief, and then I will take some questions from the media. I apologize for being late. I was inside on an important Zoom call with important leaders attempting to coordinate a response to this unprecedented situation. And by that, I refer, of course, to the fact that the Canadian Journalism Foundation Awards are virtual this year. They will not take place in a ballroom or any room at all. It is entirely virtual. This means there will be no food. There will be no free food. There will be no free drinks. There will be no snacks. And I know for members of the journalistic community, this is devastating. But we are here for you, which is why today I am announcing a $38 billion Snacks for Journalists program. We do not have the details, but the snacks are coming. This is a big year for the CJF. They are celebrating 30 years of promoting excellence in journalism in Canada. And right now, I would like to actually do a shout out to our sponsor tonight for sponsoring this virtual awards program. It is the good people at Scotiabank. You may remember Scotiabank. They're the folks that would have those cool commercials that used to air before the movies back in the before times. It has been a difficult year for journalists in this country, mostly because not a lot happened on either side of the border. But still, journalists found stories to report, and you will see some of those here today. I would like, on behalf of a grateful nation, to thank all the journalists and reporters in Canada. You chasing down stories is so important to this country because you're the only ones buying gas. Also, let it be said that in the last 3 months, the journalism community as a whole has shown great restraint in not posting home workout videos or pictures of their bread on social media. I wish the same could be said for our federal MPs, but to be fair, they have a lot of free time on their hands. Now, before we move on, I will take any questions. Yes, David Aiken, Global News. David?
I thought Lisa LaFlamme was hosting this thing. Wait, do you even know Lisa LaFlamme?
Thank you for that, David. Thank you. Yes, Lisa LaFlamme will be doing the actual awards portion. And I do, David, know Lisa. In fact, Lisa and I were in Afghanistan together, or the Stan, as we call it. Lisa was there in her capacity as an award-winning journalist, and I was there in my capacity as a voice of a generation that Maclean's magazine once called adequate. And now, here is my good friend, Lisa LaFlamme.
Thank you, Rick. And yes, we'll always have the Stan. Today, though, it is a pleasure and a privilege to be here. Now to the awards. Courage, accuracy, social responsibility. These are just a few of the main tenets of the CJF Jackman Award for Excellence in Journalism. The award recognizes a Canadian news organization whose journalism has had a profound impact on the community it serves. The 5 nominees in the small media category are CBC Ottawa for stories revealing SNC Lavalin had been awarded a contract to expand Ottawa's rail line despite not meeting the minimum criteria. The London Free Press for exploring the problems and possible solutions to low employment, lack of shelter, and entrenched addiction in the City of London. The Saskatoon Star Phoenix and Regina Leader Post for an investigation into municipal government transparency. Le Soleil for exploring the failures of the child protection system after the death of a girl triggered indignation across Quebec. The St. John Telegraph Journal for investigating the use of police as so-called babysitters for New Brunswick Youth Group Home System. And the CJF Jackman Award for Excellence in Journalism goes to the London Free Press.
Thank you to the Canadian Journalism Foundation for honoring the London Free Press with the Jackman Award for Excellence in Journalism. It is an honor to be at this virtual celebration with excellent finalists from Le Soleil, CBC Ottawa, St. John Telegraph Journal, Saskatoon Star Phoenix, and the Regina Leader Post. There should be many more Free Press journalists here celebrating with me right now. Large projects like this are never easy in a small newsroom. Every day that someone was working on the project, other people were stepping up to fill in daily the website and the newspaper. I would like to acknowledge, however, the leadership of Editor-in-Chief Joe Riccitti, News Editor Greg Van Morsel, and my colleagues Jennifer Beeman, Megan Stacey, Norman DeBono, and Patrick Maloney. We had planned to continue this project this year, but COVID-19 swept away our plans. It also, however, exposed how important our work was and is. I think that's true of journalism all across Canada now. The times are more challenging than ever, but the work is more important than ever. So here's to all of us and to the Canadian Journalism Foundation for supporting journalism across the country.
Congratulations to Randy and the newsroom in London. I am now going to read a letter of greetings from the Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau. To the Canadian Journalism Foundation, congratulations on your 30 years of excellence. I ask you, what is a journalist? A journalist is your brother, is your sister, is your father, is your mother, is your son, is your daughter, is your downstairs neighbor, is the person down the hall. It's the guy waiting for the bus. It's the lady. You know what? I'm just going to stop reading because it just goes on like that for about 6 pages. And I'm going to throw back to Lisa.
The Landsberg Award celebrates a journalist who gives greater profile to women's issues. It's named after Michelle Landsberg, the journalist, author, social activist, and feminist who was a relentless advocate for women in Canada. The award carries a $5,000 prize and is presented in partnership with the Canadian Women's Foundation. The nominees are Annie Burns-Piper for her work in the Globe and Mail revealing the prevalence of sexual violence against Canadian public transit passengers. Molly Hayes in the Globe and Mail for exploring intimate partner homicide and femicide, focusing on a case in rural Ontario. Francine Pelletier for a selection of her work, including a feature in Canada's history on parallels between the anti-feminism of the killer in the Montreal Massacre and catalysts today for movements like Me Too. The Globe and Mail's Elizabeth Renzetti for a diverse body of work that includes exploring why the ideologically motivated killing of women should be treated as terrorism. And this year's winner of the Landsberg Award is Elizabeth Renzetti.
Hello, I'm happy to join you remotely this evening to accept the Landsberg Award. It's a huge honor for me to accept the Landsberg Award from the Canadian Journalism Foundation, particularly because Michelle Landsberg has been such a huge inspiration to me over my career for her groundbreaking feminist journalism. When I was a student reporter at Ryerson, I was the women's issues reporter, a job nobody else wanted. And I had a copy of her book, Women and Children First, on my bookshelf. And it was immensely inspirational to me then, as it continues to be. So thank you to Michelle Landsberg, to the Canadian Journalism Foundation, the Canadian Women's Foundation. Thank you also, and in particular, to my fellow nominees who do such wonderful work. That's Molly Hayes, Francine Pelche, Annie Burns-Piper, to my editors at the Globe and Mail who continue to be interested in this work and support it. Thank you very much. And also a final thank you to my husband, Doug, because there should be a token man in there. So thank you very much, all of you.
Congratulations, Elizabeth. I'm told now we have a question from Vice. A new reporter from Vice. Hello.
Hey Rick, is this one of these award shows where there's no money? Also, where's the skate park?
Well, as you know, journalism is never about money. That said, we are about to drop 6 figures. It's the Atkinson Fellowship in Public Policy. In 1899, Joseph Atkinson took over a failing newspaper called the Toronto Evening Star. In a very crowded and very conservative market, he turned it into the city's sole voice of liberal reason. This fellowship awards $100,000 to an outstanding Canadian journalist for a year-long investigative reporting project. The award is a partnership between the Atkinson Foundation, the Toronto Star, and the Hondrick Foundation. Lisa will tell us about this year's recipient.
The winner of the Atkinson Fellowship in Public Policy is uniquely equipped to take a deep dive into the story of the year, the COVID-19 crisis. This award-winning journalist spent 22 years as a foreign correspondent for the Globe and Mail, covering global, environmental, labor, and health issues, including pandemics. Congratulations to this year's Atkinson Fellow in Public Policy for rising to the challenge of this extraordinary moment, Stephanie Nolan.
Hello from the very beautiful and very isolated northern tip of Cape Breton Island. I'm thrilled about this opportunity, and I'm extremely grateful to the Atkinson Foundation, the Hondrick family, and the Toronto Star for making it possible. I'm particularly grateful that in these tumultuous times, these very challenging times for journalism, that the foundation was able to move so quickly to support a project about COVID-19 and inequality. I learned in my years of covering HIV that viruses have a way of revealing a lot about the societies where they wreak havoc. This virus is new and mysterious, but history suggested that COVID-19, like others before it, would exploit the fault lines of privilege in our society, and that the most vulnerable people, such as residents of nursing homes and workers in meat processing plants, would be the least able to defend themselves. And I think we have to ask if our response has reflected that. So that's what I'm going to track as an Atkinson Fellow. Where does COVID-19 hit Canada hardest? What policies and structures and institutions created those vulnerabilities? And also, what do we choose to do with this extraordinary opportunity that we have to start doing some things differently? Like many of you, I'm sure I'm sad and angry about the events of the last few months, but I'm also really eager to bring all the things that I learned reporting in other places to this story here at home. And again, I'm extremely grateful to the Foundation for the opportunity. Thank you.
All the best on your fellowship, Stephanie. We look forward to seeing your work. We now have a question from Adrian Arsenault, CBC News.
Thank you, Mr. Mercer. Sorry for the wardrobe. I was just in a meeting with senior management. Question, who's getting the Lifetime Achievement Award?
Thank you, Adrian. To answer that question, I will refer to the Minister of Awards, Lisa LaFlamme.
Thanks, Rick, and great question, Adrian. The winner of this year's CJF Lifetime Achievement Award has been fearless and constant in her work. Kim Boland's career reads like a crime novel, filled with murders, drug busts, and international terrorism. She tackled the Air India crash story with integrity and courage. Kim survived threats and intimidation to keep reporting until truth finally emerged. Her work for the Vancouver Sun has taken her to Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, and Central America. In turn, she's given readers a front row seat in a master class of investigative journalism. Take a look.
During more than 3 decades as a newspaper reporter, Kim Boland has covered the toughest stories out there. The Air India bombings, BC's organized crime problem. And for that, she's endured everything from placard-waving protests outside her newsroom to threats, harassment, and at least one plot to have her murdered. Through it all, she never backed down. Lots of journalists make people angry with their reporting. It's not hard to do these days. But Kim does it by daring to write solidly reported truths about dangerous people and then staring them down. She has been a Vancouver Sun reporter since 1984 and has reported from Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, and Central America. She wrote the definitive book on Canada's worst mass murder, Loss of Faith: How the Air India Bombers Got Away with Murder. She now covers crime, posts on her Real Scoop blog, and is a journalism instructor at Landsberg College. A winner or finalist for more than 35 provincial, national, and international journalism awards, she tells the story straight and with compassion for victims. She is a hard-hitting, kick-ass journalist, and her aggressive, courageous reporting on difficult topics has made her a role model and a legend in Canadian journalism.
Congratulations to Kim Boland, recipient of CJF's Lifetime Achievement Award. Kim is in Vancouver.
Thanks so much for giving me this amazing honor. When I look at the past recipients of this award, I am so humbled to be among these true giants of Canadian journalism. I'm also in awe of the journalism that's being honored tonight. I feel really lucky to have been able to do this job for 36 years. I consider myself a local reporter, even though the stories I have covered sometimes have national or international significance. As journalists, we try to look at the root of problems, which inevitably begin in communities, and they're covered by local journalists. That's why it's so tragic that so many local journalists have lost their jobs in recent years. When I was a young reporter starting out, I applied the, well, that's just not right test to the stories I wrote, whether they were big or small. I remember getting called by a young mom who'd been featured in a documentary on the Journal about the sex trade. She had told the CBC that she occasionally worked Vancouver streets when her kids needed things like winter coats. Because of her TV appearance, BC welfare officials cut her off, saying she was earning money. Well, that's just not right, I said when she called me. Her story made the front page, and she got her welfare restored. The biggest, well, that's just not right story of my career was, of course, the 1985 Air India bombing. The devastating terrorist attack that claimed 331 lives was plotted and carried out right here in my community. The night of the bombing, I had the rookie reporter assignment of door knocking at the homes of those who had lost loved ones. I expected the doors to be slammed in my face. Instead, I was welcomed warmly into these homes and surrounded by grief-stricken family members. I will never forget that night. I tried to stay on the Air India story after it faded from the headlines, documenting police inaction and families' frustrations. When I investigated some of the suspects in the fall of 1997, there were immediate repercussions. Both myself and one of my sources, newspaper publisher Tara Singh Hare, began receiving death threats. Within a year, Hare had been assassinated, and now more than 20 years later, those behind his murder have never been prosecuted, even though their identities are widely known. Well, I never set out to be a crime reporter per se. So many of the, well, that's just not right stories are about injustices related to terrible crimes. I was privileged to work with Laurie Culbert and Lindsay Kynes to investigate the missing women in Vancouver's downtown east side. This was back in 2001, long before the treatment of these women by predators and police became a national story. After our series, a police task force got additional resources, and 4 months later, Robert Pickton was arrested. In recent years, I've had the challenge of trying to dig deeply into organized crime and the resulting gang and gun violence that has left hundreds of people dead in my community. The more stories I did, the more those involved decided I was a problem. They tried to intimidate and threaten, not only me, but also the people who provide information to me. That has just motivated me to keep on reporting. I'm able to do so with the support of my amazing newsroom colleagues. I feel like they always have my back, and I couldn't do this job without them. I learned that it was a former colleague, global investigative reporter Stuart Bell, who nominated me. Stu has done brave and challenging work covering extremism in Canada and abroad. I want to thank him for putting my name forward. So again, thanks for this award. I so appreciate your support, and we will hopefully all get to meet again when this pandemic is over.
What a remarkable career. The Canadian Journalism Foundation announced a number of awards and fellowships earlier this year. We'd like to take a moment now to congratulate the recipients. Sean Vanderklees and Carl Dockstader are the recipients of the CJF CBC Indigenous Journalism Fellowships, which encourage Indigenous voices and issues in the media. Sean and Carl are hosts of the One Dish, One Mic radio program in the Niagara region of Ontario. For their fellowships, Sean and Carl will be hosted by CBC News for 1 month at its Indigenous Centre in Winnipeg. Marisa Teal is a multimedia journalist for the Campbell River Mirror in British Columbia. She's the recipient of the Tom Hansen Photojournalism Award. Take a moment to enjoy some of her photos. This award is named after the Canadian press photographer who shot some of this country's most iconic news and sports images. Tom was also a great guy. The award in his name allows an early career photojournalist the opportunity for a 6-week paid internship with the Canadian press in Toronto. La Fédération professionnelle des journalistes du Québec, basée à Montréal, est la lauréate du prix conjoint FGC, Facebook Journalism Project, pour la promotion de la culture de l'information FGC. Les ateliers de la FPGQ fournissent des outils aux étudiants québécois du secondaire, du cégep et de l'université pour lutter contre la désinformation en ligne. Le prix est assorti d'une bourse de $10 000 de projet de journalisme Facebook.
You know, every now and then I like to take some time out of my day and reflect on the legacy and the career of Anna Maria Tremonti. First, there's the name Anna Maria Tremonti. To me, it sounds like a drink that would be served in a beautiful glass, overlooking a gorgeous patio on the Amalfi Coast. And then after savoring the drink, you would say to the bartender, "That Anna Maria Tremonti was delicious." And he would say, "Yes, yes it was." So that's the name. And then there's the work. And what a body of work. From Sarajevo to the Middle East, Anna Maria Tremonti built her career literally on the front lines of history. As a foreign correspondent for CBC television, she provided Canadians with consistency and clarity during often turbulent times. Her resilience, tenacity, and yes, empathy carried her from the field into the radio studio, where she carried on a national conversation for 17 years as the host of CBC's The Current. She is and always will be one of our most memorable and brave journalists. She is Anna Maria Tremonti. Please take a look at this.
Good morning and welcome to the very first broadcast of The Current. I'm Anna Maria Tremonti.
I've read some of it, and yeah, I don't believe it.
So what are you supposed to believe when the leader of the free world has his own version of truth?
Yucatan pigs like Napoleon here are the start of a change in the way medical research is going to be carried out in the future.
It seemed at times like a full-blown war, with civilians and the Palestinian police locked in a vicious and bloody gunfight with Israeli soldiers. 3 suicide bombers had positioned themselves on the top block of this busy pedestrian mall, Ben Yehuda Street. The UN patrols the countryside around Zenica, but fighting among the Croats and Muslims and Serbs has kept its aid convoys away for weeks.
The peace process in serious jeopardy. All of this happens as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu marks his 100th day in office.
There are thousands of people here, but if you listen, the sound of the crowd is only a murmur. Anna Maria Tremonti, CBC News, Sarajevo. CBC News, London. Turku, Finland. Belfast.
Anna Maria, I forgive you. I forgive you for arriving in Jerusalem in 1995 when we first met, and you saying that I should be older than you because when you were reporting from Alberta, you were listening to me already reporting from a foreign country. And I forgive you for the night of November the 4th, 1995, when I called you at home and said, Anna Maria, they've shot and may have killed the Prime Minister, Yitzhak Rabin, get to the office. And you said, well, okay, I can't say it here, but it has an F and an O. But most of all, I won't forget. I won't forget what it was like working with you in the Middle East, how kind and caring and sharing you were as a colleague, how quickly and skillfully you wrote your television scripts. But most of all, Anna Maria, I can't forget you, because 25 years on, you remain one of my wisest, kindest, and most loyal of friends.
To honor her extraordinary career, the 2020 CJF tribute goes to Anna Maria Tremonti in Toronto.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, CJF. This is a tremendous honor. I've watched some pretty amazing journalists take the podium to accept this award, and I'm humbled to be included amongst such talented people. I also feel really grateful for the journalists with whom I've worked and learned, from ones who challenged me, who've made me think, who've made me work harder, and who've become my friends. You know, I'm amongst the first generation of women to really populate newsrooms in significant numbers, to demand and to get the hard news assignments that used to be only for the men, from politics to war to big social issues. We had our fights, and you've heard about them, but by our sheer force in numbers, women changed news coverage, because in covering the usual, we spotted the unusual. We reported perspectives that often hadn't even been considered. We gave voice to people whose opinions or crises or situations weren't even considered legitimate news at the time. And the list is long: equality, inequality, domestic abuse, abortion rights, working conditions. We did lots of things, but we still missed a lot of things because we were mostly white women. And today, some of those hurdles we faced look small compared to the hurdles and the obstacles faced by Black journalists, Indigenous journalists, journalists of color. There are so many lessons we still need to learn about inclusion, about making space, lessons about listening to a new generation of journalists, about ensuring that we seek out new voices, and about the importance of embracing the ideas brought forward by reporters who are Black, Indigenous, people of color, newer and older, because your view of what is a story and your passion for covering something is still too often considered a bias, when in fact it's an educated observation and you are just speaking with clarity. So as the CJF honors me for my work, I want to acknowledge the importance of the work of the new generations of journalists coming up now, especially those who have fought so hard to get in the door. To enter journalism today, well, you know, you've got to have more degrees than my generation ever had to have. You've got to be more agile in finding and keeping work that will sustain you. You bring terrific new ideas forward, and sometimes you have to fight way too hard to see them realized. You're navigating a polarized world where doing your job exposes you to haters and trolls, and you have to endure the barrage of negativity that says journalism is dead. It is not dead. It's pretty clear right now, especially. We're in a sweeping, epic moment in time where we are confronted with just how important it is to pursue fact, accountability, and truth, and to pursue that through a diversity too long ignored. As journalists in this country, we're only as good as we want to be. Don't forget that, and please don't give up.
Congratulations, Anna Maria, and thank you. The CJF Awards recognize the work and achievements of the current and next generations of journalists, but it's important that we acknowledge those who helped pave the way. Here's a look at the people we've lost over the past year.
There was a separate video package that honored the newspapers and print outlets we lost this year, but it was just too long to fit in the show. And now here to update us on the activities of the Canadian Journalism Foundation, please welcome its president and executive director, Natalie Turvey.
Thank you, Rick, et merci à vous tous et toutes d'avoir participé à la cérémonie virtuelle de remise des prix de la FGC de cette année. While we can't be together in person, we're thrilled to be together in spirit to honor the essential work journalists do every day for our communities across the country. We appreciate it's a challenging time for everyone, which makes the CJF all the more grateful for the generous support of our sponsors in helping us continue our work and celebrate one of the cornerstones of a healthy democracy. Without them, none of this would be possible. A heartfelt thank you to our presenting sponsor, Scotiabank. We also want to thank our generous sponsors for staying the course with us. I'd like to acknowledge each of them for keeping our CJF programs healthy in this new reality. Thank you, BMO Financial Group, Google News Initiative, Labatt Breweries of Canada, the Jackman Foundation, Facebook Journalism Project, Medtronic, Accenture, Rogers, Thomson Reuters, CBC Radio-Canada, RBC, General Motors of Canada, Intact Financial, Coca-Cola Canada, CTV News, Sobeys, CIBC, Maple Leaf Foods, and Fasken. Our thanks to our in-kind supporters at the Globe and Mail, Toronto Star, Post Media, Vancouver Sun, the Canadian Press, CBC News, Porter Airlines, and Cision. And a special thank you to Stuart Bell at Global News and to CTV News leader Wendy Freeman. In CJF News, we are thrilled to welcome a new chair to the Foundation's Board of Directors. Kathy English, public editor of the Toronto Star, will succeed our outgoing chair, David Walmsley, editor-in-chief of the Globe and Mail. Kathy, we cannot wait to get started. But before we do, our deepest gratitude to David Walmsley for his service in his 3-year tenure as chair. David's outstanding leadership has allowed our foundation to grow in stature and relevance in Canada and internationally. The CJF has benefited from David's gift for big ideas and his willingness to roll up his sleeves when needed. We're thrilled David will stay on our board to lead this year's World News Day campaign. Finally, thank you to our fabulous host and national treasure, Rick Mercer, for being with us through more than a few pivots to honor the vital work journalists are doing across the country. Our warmest thanks as well to our awards presenter, the exceptional Lisa LaFlamme. She has been here for us many times over the years, and she is again now. Here is Lisa to present our final award.
Thank you, Natalie. You're very kind, and it's my pleasure. The submissions for the 2020 CJF Jackman Award for Excellence in Journalism in the large media category are a testament to the strength of Canadian journalism and its vital role in a healthy democracy. The jury noted the finalists were relentless in their questioning of the status quo and in their demand for accountability, transparency, and better management. Here are the nominees: the Globe and Mail for breaking the SNC-Lavalin affair and reports on the fallout; the Institute for Investigative Journalism for the tainted water investigation that uncovered widespread government secrecy about tap water tainted by lead; Le Journal de Montréal for a series of reports that exposed disturbing links between the mortgage loan agency Otera and the mafia; the Toronto Star for its immersive digital series Undeniable Canada's Changing Climate on the far-reaching impact of climate change; Winnipeg Free Press for its series about The Base, a neo-Nazi paramilitary group in Canada and the United States, a series made possible by a reporter infiltrating the group; and the winner of the 2020 CJF Jackman Award for Excellence in the large media category is the Globe and Mail. Accepting is Ottawa Bureau Chief Robert Fife.
On behalf of my colleagues, I want to thank the Canadian Journalism Foundation for honoring us with the Jackman Award for Excellence in Journalism. We had very able competition and we salute their journalism. The SNC-Lavalin saga is a story about abuse of power and a reminder of the vital importance of fearless journalism. The attempt by the Prime Minister's office and a powerful corporation to influence a criminal prosecution may never have been exposed without a lot of legwork and the trust of confidential sources. David Walmsley is a courageous editor-in-chief who used the power of the front page to keep the story front and center until we eventually learned almost everything the government tried to hide from the public. Special thanks to Deputy Editor Sinclair Stewart for his daily and thoughtful guidance, and to publisher Philip Crawley for encouraging us to shine the light in dark corners. And lastly, we want to thank the Globe's backdesk editors, particularly Catherine Mills, who kept us from making mistakes that could have undermined our journalism.
Congratulations, Bob, and to the Globe and Mail. Amazing work and so well-deserved. All of the work we've honored today highlight the critical role of investigative journalism in challenging and shaping our society, more important now than ever.
Congratulations to all of this year's deserving recipients. It was my great pleasure to be part of the show. In fact, it was my great pleasure just to get out of the house, even if it was just to get into the driveway. That's it for the broadcast. I look forward to getting together with you in the future and toasting journalism in person, up close, with sloppy abandon. For Lisa LaFlamme, I'm Rick Mercer.